What's poppin', y'all? Welcome back to I'll Do It Myself. I'm Wayno. I hope y'all having a good morning. You feel me? We made it to Friday. We call that grind day. Put some of that bread to the side. You know what I mean? Treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. But also be smart with your actions. If you like what it is that I do over here, though, hit that sub button, hit them likes, and run up that hype. Today, we are talking about Pras from the Fugees, who has just been convicted and sentenced to 14 years in prison. Now, before I get into the conversation of Pras, let me just put this out there. We haven't talked about Pras ever on this channel. But the reason why I am going to talk about him today is because not only am I going to speak about Pras' situation and how I feel about it, but I also want to talk about the fact that we talk all this shit about why in this, why in that. The young, they be doing all this reckless stuff. But what about the OGs? Or what people consider to be OGs? Or what people consider to be like, you know, people that they hold in a prestige value. People that they put on a pedestal, people that they praise and say, I want to be just like them. The people who were a part of the golden era of hip hop, the people who, you know, when you look back at their time or their eras, we say, well, that was the best music in the best times. But what did that breed? Now, first and foremost, let's talk about Diddy. Diddy is in federal prison right now, sentenced to 48 months, a little bit roughly over 2 years. He could get out in a year. There's all types of conversations of what can happen. Listen, I done seen people turn 6 months into a 3 to 9. Many times. Many times. Might not be that for Diddy, but let's just hold that thought for 1 second. Diddy, who was black excellence, a mogul, done tons of great things, right? Tons of great things with his platform, made great music and all of that. But behind the scenes, he was holding people, ruling with an iron fist. This nigga was directing sex tapes, setting cars on fire, beating up women, all types of reckless stuff. You know what I mean? All types of reckless stuff that we had heard others. I think people have always had this preconceived notion that Diddy was just always this bad person, but we finally got to see that when the Cassie video came out, right? Now, again, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I want to highlight how some of the most successful people in this shit end up in prison. Now, that brings us to Suge Knight.
I'm Suge Knight. Twin the Lines is the best thing that ever happened. It's my first experience. I love it. Look forward to it. Do the best, be the best. All blessings.
Yes, Suge Knight, the Death Row founder, the person who built the reputation of having aggression or being a gangster as a mogul in music, the person that people feared. But years later, after all of that fear and that ruling and however he was doing, running around in L.A., I remember like people, I didn't go to L.A. for the first time until I was 29. But I remember like people that was in L.A., like in the 90s that used to be in New York, like older people, I used to hear them say shit like, yo, you can't even talk about Suge Knight in the streets. If you say his name and you're around the wrong person, they gonna run up on you. They gonna catch up to you. And this is being around older dudes that was in the street that was going to LA when I was a kid, right? But he had this reputation. Suge Knight is serving a 28-year sentence. 28-year sentence, and he's eligible for his earliest release in 9 years from today. So again, I want to highlight the fact that Diddy, who sold millions of records, Suge, who sold millions of records, both of them tied to two of the most prolific and iconic artists of all the hip hop culture, Tupac and Biggie. They had a beef between one another, but both of them ended up in prison, even after all of the stuff that they accomplished, all of the money that they made, all of the people they put on, but all the people they hurt. Not to mention that Suge Knight, before he went to jail, man, he done got beat up, shot. He went through a lot. You know what I'm saying? That whole mystique that he had about himself, you know what I'm saying, started to fade. And I'm just speaking from what I seen online. It started to fade. People started looking at him like, no, he ain't scared of homie. He ain't scared of dude. And, you know, I mean, from what we saw, they had the best lawyers. But do you have the best lawyer? If you want to be the best rapper, you got to have the best bars. Just like Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They gotten over $25 billion with more than 500,000 clients. And the results speak for themselves. A client in Pennsylvania got $29 million after being offered only $500,000. Another client in Florida got $20 million after being offered $0. Morgan & Morgan been fighting for the people for over 35 years. It's like hiring a legal army that's always going to ride for you. If you get injured by somebody else's negligence, then you deserve to be paid. Not all law firms is created equal. Hiring the wrong one could cost you. If you get injured, you could check out Morgan & Morgan. Their fee is free unless they win. I like that one, all right? We starting to get nice with this shit, all right? We starting to get nice with this. But for real. All right, now let's enter, Pras. Pras, 1/3 of the Fugees, Wyclef, Pras, and Miss Lauryn Hill, right? Pras is now, and this is reported by Variety, has been sentenced to 14 years in prison. Fugees member Pras Michelle has been sentenced to 14 years in prison after he was convicted on charges of conspiracy and illegal foreign lobbying. A judge sentenced Michelle on Thursday after he was convicted in April of 2023 on 10 counts, including violating campaign finance laws during Barack Obama's 2012 re-election bid and illegal lobbying for Trump administration in 2017. According to Billboard, Michelle was handed a 14-year sentence, which will be followed by 3 years of probation. He was facing 22 years behind bars. God damn. In a statement to Variety, a rep for Michelle, Erica Dumas, said throughout his career, Pras has broken barriers. This is not the end of his story. He appreciates the outpouring of support as he approaches the next chapter. It says that he was initially charged in 2019 and went to trial 4 years later. The trial lasted 3 weeks and included testimony from Leonardo DiCaprio on the behalf of the prosecution. God damn, Leonardo DiCaprio came and testified against your ass. It says just last month, Michelle was ordered to forfeit more than $64 million after he was found guilty of orchestrating a foreign influence campaign to coax the United States into dropping an investigation into Malaysian financer Zhao Lo. He attempted to get a retrieval after claiming that his former lawyer David Kenner, best known for representing Suge Knight, who would have known? Best known for representing Suge Knight in 2015's murder case, used artificial intelligence to come up with the closing arguments. Are you kidding me? In early 2014, Kenner pleaded guilty to misdemeanor criminal contempt and was sentenced to 1 year of probation over his handling of the discovery materials in Michelle's case. All right, it says in an interview with Variety following his conviction, he outlined his plans to appeal the outcome of his case. I'm going to fight. I'm going to appeal, but there's a possibility I'm going in for a while. I'm fighting, he said. It's just the reality. Damn, bro. So this is legendary shit. So you had Leonardo DiCaprio come to court and testify on the behalf of the prosecution. Then you had Suge Knight's lawyer that used AI to come up with the closing arguments. God damn. Listen, I don't know who could have more bad luck, but let's just run back into context of what I'm speaking on. Before we do that, though, here's this ad from Jordan Craig. Make sure y'all use my code. On Black Friday, they got a sale too. Make sure y'all use my code. If y'all into the brand, cop something, man. Cop something on my behalf if you rock what I do it myself and Wayno. Yo, this video is brought to you by Jordan Craig Denim. Jordan Craig Denim is a brand, a family-owned brand, working in streetwear business over 30 years by the way of Queens, New York. On top of that, they got everything from premium denim. They got good sweatsuits, good jackets, all types of garments and all types of accessories for any and everything you need. A lot of people have wanted. Everybody from Allen Iverson, Moneybagg Yo, Shiloh Sanders, Paul Pierce, Vin Diesel. They got something for everybody. You know it's full time. You gotta get right. Go get you one of these sweatsuits. This sweatsuit I got on in particular is extremely comfortable. I can move around in it. It's comfy. I feel like I could wear this to go outside. I could wear this to the gym. I could wear this to go get my groceries, pick up my kids from school, whatever it is I need to be doing. Good airport fit. Jordan Craig got it. So if you like this sweatsuit or any of the stuff that you've seen, make sure that you hit jordancraig.com and use my code. Like I said, you support me, you support this channel, support Jordan Craig. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program. This situation with Pras is wacky, but I seen a pattern, right? A pattern with celebrities that we seen get locked up over the years. Like I said, we just mentioned Diddy, we mentioned Suge Knight, we mentioned Pras currently, T.I. I remember when T.I. had got locked up. you know, me and one of my homies was talking about this, and this is when, damn, it's 2006, 2007. I was about 23, 24. We was talking about, you know, T.I.'s situation. I'm like, yo, why would he, like, wow, he had like a couple of guns on the way to pick up the other guns and all, and we like, why would he do that? And he was like, yo, you know what that's a culmination of? I was like, what? He said, him doing a bunch of shit and never getting caught. Like him doing a ton of things and never getting caught. And like I said, you know, we give a lot of scrutiny to the young people that's coming up in the game. We give a lot of scrutiny to them, tell them about what they ain't, what they aren't, you know what I mean, what they'll never be. Back in our day, it was like this. But if we look at some of the highest level people, we got to ask, well, what the hell is they, right? I remember having a conversation with Jay Hill. I don't know if y'all watch his podcast, but if you don't, check it out. And we were talking about Diddy and, you know, Bill Cosby and all of that. And he got into the conversation and saying, like, it feels like they're taking all of our, like, they're taking our like black men entertainers away from us. And I'm like, I don't know if we should look at it through that lens. And he didn't really understand where I was coming from. And basically what I was trying to say was like, all right, we can pretend like there's this grand scheme of things. And you could look at certain cases and be like, damn, you know, what is this about? You know, with Diddy, they say, oh, well, you know, he tried to fight back against the company with the Ciroc thing. And then once he tried to fight with the Ciroc thing, this happened. And it's this larger and broader conspiracy and all of this. And listen, man, Diddy is not no politician. You know what I'm saying? Even for all the money that he could possibly generate. You know, when you look at wealth and status and all this money, and you look at people who have money and his billionaire status and all of that, that's not even comparable to what he's up against, right? Now, is that enough for somebody to make up stories? I don't believe so. I do believe, and we've seen it, right, that he was into it with Cassie. He did a lot of things to her. She was with a lot of the stuff that he was doing. Like, let's not get it twisted. Just because he got convicted, we're not going to skip over the fact that a lot of the stories, not even from Cassie, but the dudes that was involved in the freak-off, detailed her being the person paying, being the person booking the flights, being the person being into it. And then you have the sympathy and empathy card. Oh, but she just wanted to be with him. But at the point where you have a certain level of status, and when you reach a certain level of shit, right? Like, when is too much enough, right? Like, when is that ego too much? Like when do you humble your own self? When do you not wait? When do you start realizing and looking around like, nah, I might be into some foul sucker shit over here? When you look at a situation like Suge Knight, you know what I'm saying? Suge Knight was running around, you know, years after the whole Death Row crumble. Snoop Dogg left, Pac died, Dre left, all of the artists left. All of the artists, you know, painting him to be the boogeyman. And once he wasn't the boogeyman no more, it kind of felt like that Mike Tyson scene. You know what I mean? That Mike Tyson scene where he was doing a podcast, I believe, and he was saying that he used to be ferocious and he's not that guy anymore. And it bothers him. And I think that that's one of the things that might have got the Suge, because it seemed like after that, he was running around trying to be the same guy. We heard the stories about him and Akon. You know what I'm saying? When he tried to run up and play with Akon. And we know how that went. You know what I'm saying? Then we heard the story about when he got, you know, shot up in the club. We heard that. Then we heard, you know, of course, he was at, was it for Straight Outta Compton? Was he on a set of Straight Outta Compton, I believe? And he ran over somebody, you know what I mean, and took their life. And it's like, damn, when does the level of crashing stop? You look at these guys and even with their flaws, right? You look at their flaws and you say, damn, well, even if they were doing bad, even if they had messed up, it looked like the glass was half full, not empty. And these niggas could have turned that shit around at any time, right? Like, you look at, you know, the Diddy situation, and then people say, oh, but it's because of Young Miami. He was turning Young Miami up. But how much accountability do we give to the person that's actually committing the act, right? Now, this situation with Pras, man, one thing about becoming successful and having money and all these different things, I haven't reached either three of the guys I just mentioned levels as far as money, but I've been up and I've been down, and I know that when you're down, it's hard to climb out of that, right? And it's not going to be easy. Shit, you might doubt yourself forever and say, man, I hit the lotto and I lost. Like you lost that lotto ticket. People always question, is it better to have had it and lost it than to not have ever had it at all, right? And I think that that's subjective depending on who the fuck you ask it. But in this case, for somebody like Pras, well, of course he's not the most, he's the third of the group, right? You got Lauryn Hill's number one. You know what I'm saying? Lauryn Hill is the number one. Then you got Wyclef, you know what I'm saying? Then you got Pras. But what they did as the Fugees in the early 90s, well, mid-90s, you feel me? Representing something, even for what we see people going through today with ICE and immigration. Refugee camp, you know what I mean? The refugee all-stars, they built something, you know what I mean? Being Haitians coming out of Jersey and representing music and arts and doing dope shit and selling millions of records. Let's talk about that. The Fugees is one of the most iconic rap groups of all time. I don't think you could talk to anybody from any region and not have a conversation about that the Fugees are not in. But when you see a situation like this, I mean, when you see a situation like this, and of course, everybody's going to proclaim their innocence. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's going to proclaim their innocence. Right now, all I'm knowing is what I'm seeing. He's been convicted and sentenced. You know what I'm saying? And now, let's look at Pras's age. Let's look at Pras's age right quick. Let's look up his age. He's 53 years old. 53. Birthday just passed last month. You know what I'm saying? Damn near a month to the day of his birthday. His birthday is October 19th. October 20th, he's been sentenced to 14 years at 53 years old. It make you question a lot of shit. It make you question actions. And I know a lot of people are rushing. You know what I mean? They rushing to get into this music shit. They like, no, just give me a shot. If I get me the opportunity, I'm going to do it different. But are we? Are you? Culturally, you know what I'm saying? Culturally, we love what hip hop represents from a bird's eye view, right? You look at it and you say, damn. It starts out with that thing that Andre 3000 said. Great things start in little rooms. It starts out in these little rooms, and then, you know what I mean, you start getting it going, and then you get the attention of somebody, and then somebody calls you, and then they might come to your show, or they might just hear the music, and now you getting flying all over because people are thirsting and wanting, you know what I'm saying, whatever you got so that they could sell it. But then those deals come in. And a lot of times those deals aren't favorable to artists. And then when you get that bread, you feel me? When you get that bread, it starts to become an addiction. I'm not speaking specifically for Pras, but I've just seen this happen more times than I could count over my 20 plus year career in this game. You see people when they get that money and everything going good, and then they start to lose it. And then they start to get it again. But then they done dug themselves into a hole. And now that they done dug themselves into their hole, they start scratching and getting at anything they possibly can to put $1 in their pocket. And I always say this, y'all, at what cost? Because to be a 53-year-old man sentenced to 14 years in prison, having to do 3 years probation after that, what the fuck is we talking about here? I wish the best for Pras and his family, because this is a tough situation to go through. You know what I mean? This is a tough situation to go through. I'm not going to no prison. I ain't committing no crimes. I ain't playing none of them games. I'm doing my best every day. Tupac said it. It's hard to be legit and still pay your rent. You feel me? But it makes me wonder, what were they thinking the whole time? Now, one day, Pras is going to have the opportunity to speak for himself and tell his side of the story, and we'll all be there if we're fortunate to be. But y'all let me know how y'all feel, man. Y'all let me know how y'all feel. Some of the best to ever do it have gone to prison. We just seen Max B come home from doing 17, 18 years. You feel me? We just seen G Dep come home from doing 15 years. You know what I'm saying? We seen Shine go in for 10. Seen Bobby Shmurda and Rowdy going for 7. Young Thug being for about 2. You feel me? Makes me wonder, is getting in the game worth it? This is how I do it myself, though. For the ones that rock with me, you know how we doing. For the ones that don't, eventually will. I will catch y'all on the next one. Peace.